Good morning. This is going to be the fifth video in my new series on answering your questions. And today we're going to talk a little bit about snatch versus half snatch, like why you would choose one versus the other. And specifically, or mainly speaking about the single bell variation of the two exercises. Um, I think you'll see a lot of people online using the snatch as a movement versus the half snatch. And then you come across my videos and I'm almost always doing a half snatch versus the classic snatch. And so I get that question quite a bit, is like, why am I coming to rack, or what am I doing? Why am I doing that? And so it's really quite simple. It is an exercise that is also an event that I have competed in numerous times. I've got 3 master sports in the half snatch half marathon in 3 different IKMF world championships. I've competed it live at the Arnold, and then it's also an event within the pentathlon, which I've competed in as well, and attained world-class ranking in that. And so it's something that I really enjoy, and it's something that I use not only as an event, but more than not, I pick that variation, the half snatch versus the classic snatch, in my training sets as well, even when I'm not training to compete. There's a few reasons for that. One is the advantage is, for me personally, is the amount of volume that I'm doing over the course of a week. And so with coming into rack versus dropping from overhead, it's less taxing. It's less taxing on the grip, the skin on your palms. It's less taxing on your elbows and the biceps. So over the course of a workout and over the course of a training week, because it's less taxing, recovering from my workouts is a bit easier or quicker, or whatever word you want to use there. I'm able to train more often, or able to train longer, and recover from what I'm doing, because it is less taxing, specifically, on my elbows and biceps. And then, of course, if you're training heavier or longer sets with fewer switches, your palm skin can become an issue. And so, for me, again, that's the number one reason. I truly enjoy the movement, but is the volume that I'm doing over the course of a session, and then over the course of that week. And that really compounds. And so just from the big thing for me is recovery when I'm not training for an event. The other thing would be, I think for most people, it's just an easier movement to learn. Coming into rack from overhead keeps that bell closer to your body. And then again, obviously with the arm pump and the easier on the palm skin, those are advantages for a beginner as well, or for the generalist who isn't looking to compete in anything. From a training aspect, there's not a big difference between like how hard a movement is. Again, the learning curve for the half snatch, in my opinion, is smaller. It's easier to learn, and you can get into that movement a lot faster versus the classic snatch. The classic snatch is a great movement. Those that compete in the event are animals. The overhead drop can become very intimidating, and very difficult on the grip and things like that. So if you are a person that just wanted to train for fitness, and you're doing multi-switch, and then there's really not a huge difference between the two as far as the training effect you're going to get, other than what I talked about. But again, if you're switching as often as you'd like, or setting the bell down as often as you'd like, you don't have to worry much about the bicep soreness, or the arm pump, or the palm skin, because you're constantly setting it down or switching hands. It's for those that are switching less frequently, doing longer sets, things like that. The classic snatch is a bit faster of a movement, and you're going to get more of when you rehinge each rep, you're going to get more momentum. And so I actually think that when you're going heavier, I think the classic snatch is tougher on the grip, on the drop, obviously, but it's easier to re-snatch it, in my opinion, because you come down to rack. It's a much slower movement. There's less momentum, and you really got to make sure that each rep is technically on point to get that bell back up overhead. So as an example, I get up to that 40 kg mark. I often think that half snatch is a little bit more difficult, simply because of the lack of momentum than a multi-switch snatch. Now, again, if you're not switching, if you're doing a one switch event, yeah, that half snatch is far easier. I can go a lot longer with half snatch versus classic snatch when you're not switching it at your leisure. So for the general person, the generalist, I always recommend going half snatch. The only people, in my opinion, that need to be training snatch are those that compete in the event, or you just prefer it. I think in all my experience between the two exercises, I can get better at half snatch by doing the classic snatch, but I can't get better at the classic snatch training half snatch. You really need to develop that overhead drop and toughen up your hand skin and toughen up your elbows and your biceps and building that resiliency. But again, if you're not competing, then I always prefer the half snatch over um, the classic snatch for reasons stated. When you're talking two bells, that's a whole different conversation. Um, Unless you're doing interval sprints, I really think that there's no reason to be doing two bell full snatch. Um, the risk to reward, from that overhead drop, something going wrong, two bells, especially as you get fatigued. Um, the idea is to train often and to train well. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with it as a movement. It's totally fine. It's very impressive. Um, it's very taxing and things can go sideways quickly. So that's my take on the half snatch versus the snatch. Um, Both are great movements and there's nothing wrong with either one, but I do favor the half snatch for the reasons stated. Thank you.